Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Welcome to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski, and we are now just about at the end of Chanukah 2020. It's been nice. It's been rainy and gray and cold here, which is normal. It's pretty normal for winter in Israel, in this area, Har Hebron, southern Hebron Hills, Jerusalem, the same weather. But, we have our warm days too, and weather is not a reason to not live here. The weather here is actually pretty good all year round. It's one of the good parts. And the air is very clean, and Hanukkah, like I told you in the past, is really nice here. It's very relaxing. It's been a good week, and I've gotten some very nice inquiries from our listeners, and people are reaching out to the station, and they're asking me about guests who have come on, and they were trying to connect to them, and I'm so happy because that is exactly the point of this show. It's not just to entertain you. It's to give you, our listeners, courage and inspiration to move to Israel. And what I've been trying to do is highlighting just normal, regular people who've done it, who've come here just like me. We're all normal, regular people here. None of us are superstars. None of us are, without flaws. We're all just regular, normal people, and it's hard. And last week, if some of you remember, I was interviewing Nechama David, and she said to me, Natalie, don't put down how it's hard. Don't minimize it, because it was hard for me. And I yelled at her and I said, how could it be hard? You weren't really alone. You had your sister here. I got some comments about that. Now, I don't want this show to just be, only the positive and only the good, as if we're living here in the Garden of Eden. In many ways, it is Gan Eden, Garden of Eden here, in many ways. But it is, still a country with rules and laws and hardships. We have to get our kids up in the morning and to school, and we have to buy their books, and we have to pay our taxes. You have to follow the rules. And now with the coronavirus, there are more rules than ever. But we do it. And you get through it, and we get through it together. And that's what's good about Israel. You're never alone here. I've said that before, but it is true. You're never alone here. Stick around. We'll be right back. We have a great show for you.
The return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel was prophesied in the Bible thousands of years ago and is coming true today. Shalom. Join me, Josh Wander, on Israel Unplugged. Listen in as we delve into the spiritual and physical aspects of the Jewish return to Zion. We'll discuss the biblically mandated, historic, and of course practical understandings of this incredible transition from exile to redemption. That's Israel Unplugged, every Monday on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com.
Welcome back to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski. Joining us today is a new friend of mine, Goel Jasper. Well, I'm saying it like half Hebrew, half English, but Goel is someone who has been here about as long as me. He tells me he came here in 2004. He's actually also from the Philadelphia area, and today lives in Beit Shemesh. Goel, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me on.
I'm just going to jump right in, and sure. I'm sure you have a story which led you to Israel about the same time as me. Tell me, why did you come back then? I guess you were, married with your family. You had a life. You were living actually in Baltimore at the time, you told me. But what was it that made you make the jump to come to Israel?
Yeah, I think if it's okay, we got to go back a little further, just so that your listeners understand that for most of my life until that point, I had no interest in living in Israel. All through high school, college, I was as American as you can get. in fact, the first time I came to Israel, shortly after my first son was born in 1997, I came here with my wife and that first son and my in-laws. And my father-in-law and I were walking on Friday morning to Machane Yehuda, the shuk in Jerusalem. And he said to me, "Isn't it so wonderful to be walking the streets of our country?" And I said to him, "It's really nice here, Dad, but America is my country." So I had no interest in living in Israel growing up, even though I was a very strongly Jewish person. But after I'd been married for a few years, we had a few kids. As you said, we had moved to Baltimore, and Baltimore is the kind of community where they really are honest with themselves about what it means to be a Jewish person. And given the fact that in the prayers every day we're talking about yearning to go back to Zion and the importance of Jerusalem, and even in the Torah we understand that this land is a gift that Hashem gave us, it started to become a little less comfortable intellectually and emotionally for me to not at least explore living in Israel.
All right. Now, why? Why?
Why what?
Why
was it uncomfortable?
No, yeah. I mean, there are tons of people still there saying the same words every day. They just say them. They're not here. Why are you here?
Yeah, I think that, part of it has to do with an important trip that I took here. It was right after 9/11, and the world was going crazy, and those kinds of events in someone's life, even though 9/11 didn't touch me personally, it sort of shakes you up and gets you thinking about what life is really all about. And it happened to have been that the rabbi of our community decided right then, actually it was toward the end of October, so if 9/11 was in September, and then there were no flights for a few weeks after that because of the concern, then we went to Israel in October, about 20 of us. And we visited a bunch of yeshuvim, a bunch of the Jewish communities that you would refer to as over the Green Line in Yehuda and Shomron, Judea and Samaria. And there was one small community called Rechelim, which is in Samaria. And we visited a kindergarten there. And I saw these kids. There were like 8 kids in the kindergarten. And I just thought to myself, these kids are living the next chapter of Jewish history, and I'm just standing on the side watching it happen, sort of like nicely coming to visit the Jewish future taking place, but not really participating in it. And so I contacted my wife while I was on this trip, and she had wanted to move to Israel for years, but never really pressured me about it. And I said, hey, sort of like the classic, like, we need to talk. Well, this was like a positive, we need to talk. Uh-huh. And that's what I said to her, and we started planning.
Good. I love it. I know Rechelim. Beautiful winery there. It's near Har Bracha up there, and was founded because, I think most of these yeshuvim are founded because someone died, and they name it for that person who died. That's actually named for 3 Rachels.
That's right.
Beautiful yeshuv. And actually, recently, the 3 boys that were kidnapped, one of those families dedicated a wading pool in his memory, and I built the garden with the donor around it. It's a beautiful yeshuv, and it's growing. But yeah, small hilltop yeshuv, small hilltop settlement, which is what a lot of these places start. That's how they start, but they grow. They grow.
No question. No question.
Your description, I love your description. I love it. I agree with you. I also did not want to be watching from afar, and I didn't want to be watching as an audience person about what's going on the stage. I wanted to be on the stage. You too, right?
Right. And then so from there, then my philosophy really, I would say, grew and sort of was cultivated, because once everything is in the framework of where you are in the context of Jewish history, then you start to really take it to exciting places. Like, for example, people would say, like, wow, Israel's really nice, but it's really intense there. Why would you want to do that to yourself? And I would say to them, well, we only have this life, until Olam Haba, of course, until the arrival of Mashiach, etc. But we only have this life. Like, why would you not want it to be the most intense life you can have?
Right.
Israel is the most intense place in the world, no question about it, and for good, and in some cases not for good. But why do you want to just sail through life? The concept of comfort being the equal of happiness, of fulfillment, is just wrong. The more intense your life can be, the more meaningful your life is, the bigger impact you have on the world.
Don't be too hard on them, because it's not their fault.
No, I'm not being hard on them. I'm talking about my own experience. Everybody has their own understanding of where they are in this world. And I was once, you didn't mention this to your listeners, but I'll mention it, that at one point I was in your chair and did a show about aliyah myself years ago, and one of the people I interviewed was Rabbi Nachman Kahana. And he said in this conversation we had, those who don't make aliyah are losers. And I was like, hey, Kvod Harav, Rabbi, that's a little harsh. He said, no, I'm not insulting them. I'm explaining that Hashem handpicks each person who's able to live in the land. And those who don't get here, they've lost. And it's sad. He was lamenting the fact, not making fun of them, not insulting them. It's a really tough question for each person to answer. And those who are able to answer it in the positive have extremely meaningful and exciting lives. And those who can't answer in the positive, they can still have good lives. They can still be meaningful contributors to the Jewish world. But it's a different level of intensity.
What's the question, though? What are they answering? Are they answering, are you coming to Israel? Are you answering, do you have meaning? What's the question? Am I a loser?
No, I think if I understand what you're saying, the truth is that there are a whole bunch of categories within each people's decision-making process about how they want to live their lives. And I used to be sort of monolithic about it. Like, if you don't make aliyah, you're a dope, and you have no idea what's going on. And as you get older, you appreciate that, what? There's actually something really beautiful. Like, there's a guy who lives on my street who for years commuted to America every week and spent Shabbat here in Israel. Actually, every other Shabbat, I think. And I used to say about him, like, why can't he just get a job in Israel? Is money so important to him? But then over time you appreciate, no, you know what? He's got his challenges, and look what he's doing in order to afford his family the ability to live here. It's beautiful, actually.
Right.
And so, for some people, maybe they never visit Israel, so maybe they should start visiting Israel more often. For other people, they visit, so maybe they should buy a place here. For other people, they have a place here, so maybe they should spend 6 months here. It's all a process. In the same way, there are no perfect people in the world.
Correct.
We all have growth that we have to continue to go through.
Yeah.
So it's not a black and white. I think people need to think about it in terms of growth.
Well, fine. But, if the more, you can make a lot of excuses if you think about it. I like the black and white. I like that. Just get over here and figure it out once you're here. Things will fall into place, one foot in front of the other. Don't think so much. Don't
I think that what you're talking about is a dynamic that I refer to as the light switch. And some people have it. For me, that visit to Rechelim, that was the light switch. Before that visit to that yeshuv, I was not interested in moving to Israel. After that visit, I had to move to Israel. Yeah. It was a light switch. But some people can't live their lives that way. And so we have to work with those kinds of people to get them headed in the right direction. And I think that's important also.
I hear you.
But
right.
Of course, black and white's, the best approach.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, that's the purpose of this show. At least one of the purposes of this show is to give encouragement and inspiration for those people. Some of them they're not even near a light switch.
That's
they
right.
just
That's right.
plod along. And you said something interesting, or getting towards the end of the time, but you said something so great before when you said people just live their lives without even thinking, and they just want comfort. But yeah, they never had to think about it. Why should they? Why should they think about it? They got it good. All right,
Well,
we're going to be back.
to a degree, it's because they have it.
Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Simento from Jerusalem, inviting you to drop everything and join me on my show, Pull Up a Chair. We'll visit this week's quirky stories, meet fabulous guests, and discover my Israel. Together, we'll laugh, shout, and explain the topics that make us say, hey, we've got to talk about that. So get comfortable and pull up a chair with me, Andrea Simento, every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Did you know this psalm and many others were composed by a Jewish shepherd and musician who later became a king? Would you like to know some of the inner meanings of psalms to help you connect with God and strengthen your soul? An exciting and easy-to-read book is now available which will help you do just that. Software for the Soul, Psalms for Everyone, available on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon.com. Software for the Soul.
Welcome back to Returning Home. We're still speaking with Go'el Jasper, and we're discussing how there are a few different kinds of people. There are people who are planners, and there are people who live for the moment. Go'el was telling me a story. Go'el, tell me that story again. Tell our listeners.
Yeah,
that story.
When we first moved to Baltimore, this was 2001, summer of 2001. I walked into the shul the first Shabbat we were there. And someone I knew was introducing me around, and I met this one guy there, and he says, "Nice to meet you, but don't waste time getting to know me. I'm making aliyah." And then 3 years later, when we made aliyah, he was still living in Baltimore. Thankfully, there's a happy ending to the story. They did make aliyah eventually, but the truth is there are different types of people. Some people are, as we talked about in the first half, light switch or black and white people, and other people do need to plan things more methodically, and it's important that when we talk about the concept of aliyah, that we frame it to different people in different ways. The same way you raise each of your children in a different way that's appropriate for that child, and people who are looking into the concept of aliyah need to have it framed in a way that works for them as well. And for some people that means living in the Hebron Hills. Right, Natalie? And for other people, it means moving to Ra'anana or Beit Shemesh.
Yeah, but you're so funny. You said, like you raise your children individually. I don't raise my children individually. Mamash is all, they just got to deal and they got to eat what I give them. Okay. And I don't think it needs to be so, and you can argue with me, but I don't think it needs to be so tailored. I mean, we are not selling, a cruise line. We are not selling spa treatments. We shouldn't have to sell Israel at all, in my opinion. I mean, there is one Jewish state, and this is it. So take it or leave it,
True. It's a fantastic product. It's a fantastic product. And I say that to people, anytime someone from, I work for a company that has offices all over the world, and we'll host someone from another country here in Israel, and they'll say, wow, I didn't realize how cool Israel is. And I'm like, yeah, it's a great country. Sometimes I think, Israelis forget how wonderful a product this is. It's a fantastic country.
Israelis forget. Israelis, they don't forget. They don't forget because they don't know. Because they've always had it. I hate this expression. You don't appreciate what you have. But it's true. They don't appreciate it. They don't. It's not their fault. Just like it's not the secular Jews' fault or the American Jews' fault that they're comfortable and that their goals are big car, nice job, house with a fence. It's not their fault. But you and I and other people out there who live here who have made the change can, influence them and change them and show them here's an option. It's a good option, right?
Yeah, no question about it. And the best illustration is, talking about our own experiences, sending pictures and videos of our children and our children growing up happy. I think there was a study that was done sometime within the last year that Israel is one of the happiest countries in the world. The people there are happiest. And I think that if we can communicate that, I'll explain this by way of a story also. I was talking to a friend of mine. I went to camp with him, 35 years ago. He and I were in camp together, and we didn't see each other again until after I had made aliyah. His company and my company had some dealings with each other. And so we were chatting and reminiscing, and then he said, it wasn't so bad, was it? I said, what are you talking about? He said, moving to Israel, it wasn't so bad. And I was like, no, much easier than I thought it was going to be. Of course there are challenges and trials, but people have this sense that making aliyah is like, whoa, what are you doing to your life? Yeah. And you get here and you get acclimated and you move forward and you live your life. It's not how people think in terms of how daunting it is.
Right. I tell my parents, I'm not the only one who moved here. There are others from North America too. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the whole country. The whole country, basically. Going back to the 1700s when the students of the Vilna Gaon came here. I assure everyone listening that it's easier to move here now than it was back then.
Right.
Anything you need, Israel has it at this point. Except Dial soap. For some reason, Israel doesn't have Dial soap. I don't really understand.
Okay, so you get Dove. Lo sof haolam.
No, not at all.
It's really come a long way, and there shouldn't be really anything daunting. I think the most daunting thing people suffer from is the Hebrew, and even that can be doesn't need to be such a barrier. Enough people do speak English. And today, with everyone on Zoom and on their computers, you can hold a job from anywhere in the world. You don't need Hebrew, right?
Absolutely the case. Yeah, I have a friend who's a lawyer. He said if it wasn't for technology, he wouldn't be able to do his job that he does. And here he is, able to live in Israel because of technology. It's incredible.
Yes, many of us. Okay, so tell us a little bit about that, about your professional side. You told me when we spoke last week that when you were flying to Israel, you actually got your job on the plane.
Yeah. Tell me what you do. I'm in communications and marketing, and just like everyone should, I came here on a pilot trip, and I actually I had 17 informational interviews in 5 days. I just met with whoever would be willing to meet with me. Each meeting, I asked them if they can introduce me to someone else, and I drove all around just meeting anybody who would meet with me. And one of the people I met with was the head of this PR agency, and he certainly wasn't willing to offer me a job, but he said he'd be willing to discuss it. It happened to have been the PR agency that was doing PR for Nefesh B'Nefesh. And so on my flight, he was on the plane helping them with PR, and someone came back to my seat and told me that he wanted to talk to me. So I went to where the staff were sitting, and he offered me a job on the plane.
Wow.
And so I walked back to the seat where I was sitting, and I said to my wife, it looks like I have a job. Crazy.
So when you told me this, I laughed, and I thought a few minutes later, what was your plan otherwise? Did you come here not having a job and thinking, I'll figure it out when I get here? And was your wife okay with that?
The thinking at first was, hey, we get here, maybe ulpan, getting acclimated, making sure the kids are settled in school, and looking for a job. We weren't wealthy, but we weren't poor, so we had enough money that I could at least look for a job. But it's such a classic thing that it's very difficult to receive a job offer until you've made aliyah, because people have experienced so many stories of an aliyah process that gets stalled, and so they're not interested in giving people job offers. Now, things have changed over the years, but But back then, it just wasn't going to happen. So we knew we had to land before I was going to get a job offer. And so, but the truth was, I happened to have landed with a fantastic job offer. But my wife and I talked about it, about the importance of continuing our family's history in this land, and that no matter what I would have to do to earn a living, I was going to do it. Even the classic thing I always talked about was, like, if I needed to, like, make pizza or deliver pizza, for that matter, I would have been willing to do it.
Kol kavod. I love the attitude. Everyone needs that attitude. Not everyone has that attitude. I think that's part of it. You know, it's part of being able to make the move is to say, no matter what, we're going to do it. You know, some people, they rent out their house in the States, come to Israel for a year, and see how it goes. It's very difficult, but when you cut the rope bridge behind you, you know, we sold our house, and that was that. When you cut the rope bridge behind you, you've got to make the best of it. That's right. That's right. It's baby steps, you know, that's all. But once you're here and your feet are wet, you learn to swim.
Right.
You're there, right? Yeah. I mean, I just made that up, but that's the truth. You know, everyone has a story, and I think even couples, I don't know what your wife does or how you guys manage, but I think it can bring couples together, you know, bringing each other along. You know, one person might have it easier, one person might have it harder. But,
well, I will say that it's you know, I don't want to sound too stereotypical, but I really do believe in the axiom of, if mama ain't happy, ain't no one happy. So you know, if the wife wants to make aliyah and the husband isn't so hot on it, it can work. If the husband wants to and the wife doesn't want to, I don't think it's destined for success.
Yeah. The women are in charge. We get it. I get it.
Yeah. You know, a woman's impact on the family is so strong that if she's into it, it's going to work. And my wife, as I told you, was into it even before I was. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's important for each of the spouses to have that sort of proverbial, you know, magnet on the fridge of why we're living here. You know, if you want to make aliyah because your kids are going to have cute accents when they speak Hebrew, you know, that's not good enough. That's not going to be enough to carry the day. But if there's a real fundamental reason for living here, then carries you through all the challenges.
Yeah, fair. But sometimes those things come. I mean, I must say, I kind of, you know, we're different. Husbands and wives are different, you know, but things change along the way. I mean, you may not have that feeling when you start, but certainly it grows within you.
No question about it. And it becomes your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And what happens is you change. Like I said before, things that were once not beautiful become beautiful in your eyes. These thorny hills are beautiful to me.
That's right. Aren't they?
I don't like artificial grass. I don't see it, and I don't find it beautiful anymore. Well, thank you for joining us. That was great. Have a pleasure. Happy Hanukkah. Tonight is the last night, and thank you all for listening. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Are you interested in transforming your life, drawing closer to the Creator, and uncovering the deeper meanings and hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Returning Home. This is your host, Natalie Sapinski. We just finished our amazing interview with Goel Jasper. I really love this guy. He's my age, and he grew up near me. And it turns out that also his mother lives in Wilmington, and I know her. I've met her, and she's actually become friends with my mother, and it's very nice. They both, his mother goes to the Chabad there, and my parents really don't, but my mother and her have become friends. And it's nice. It's a small community, Wilmington. If any of you know it, everyone kind of knows everyone else. And that was really nice. Our next guest joining us now is my friend Arielle Peleg. She is a young woman who made aliyah from Philadelphia, I think 2 or 3 years ago. She'll tell me. What are you? She's 25, 26 years old. And we became friends because we were both working in the same law office about 2 years ago. And she reminded me of me. She was wearing this jean dress and everything. Same type of thing I used to wear at work. And I invited her for Shabbat. And she's fit into my family really well. She comes every now and then and tells us, my family, about her adventures. And she's really the only young single girl I know here in Israel. So, Arielle, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, don't be nervous, honey. Don't be nervous. Okay, tell us why you came to Israel, when you came to Israel, a little bit about that, and then I'll attack you with some questions.
Okay, so I was in my senior year of college, and I grew up coming to Israel every summer, every 2 summers, because my father's Israeli, so his family's here, so he came to visit. And I decided in my winter break of my senior year that I wanted to come to Israel by myself. I came for 3 weeks to Jerusalem, which usually my family's in the north, so I came by myself. And the second that I got here and I was kind of living on my own, I didn't want to leave. I went back after the 3-week vacation, and from that day I said I'm making aliyah. And I graduated May 2018, and I made aliyah a week after.
Mm-hmm. So when you came for those 3 weeks, it was like a vacation for you, right?
So I did learning. I was learning in, it wasn't a seminary. We were living in Har Nof, Jerusalem, and we were kind of just learning Torah. It was about 6 girls, and it's a college program. It's called Mayor, and we kind of just were learning. We had half the day learning, half the day exploring. We did trips, and it was kind of just exploring Israel.
All right. So you came on a program, a 3-week program. That was your introduction to living in Israel, right?
Yeah, it was my first time by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good. So you had a similar experience to mine. I came for a 1-year program. You came for a 3-week program.
Yeah.
And then you came. So you've been here on your own. And, it's like every couple months, it seems like you're moving.
I've been from May 2018 until now, I guess until a month ago, I was only living in Jerusalem, and I moved about 7 times.
Yeah. Okay.
And now I just moved to Petach Tikvah.
Okay. And what did you do during the first 2 years? I guess you've been here 2 years. What have you done? What have you been to keep yourself busy?
So I started off doing just like a small program just to get to know, just to do something over the summer. And then I got this job as a paralegal where we met. And
so what was the program? Well, tell me what that program was.
Okay, so it's something called Pathways Plus. It's half the day. No, it's 3 days a week learning in a seminary, and then the other 2 days doing an internship in your field. So I was
very nice.
Tracking things online and for criminals and things like that.
Tell me about your background, your education.
So I studied at Temple University in Philadelphia from criminal justice. And so I've had all different jobs with law or crime or things like that.
Okay. And you were not religious, correct?
No. I grew up in a very traditional Sephardi home where we did Kiddush. We did the general things to be Jewish, but I never knew why we were doing these things.
Mm-hmm. So when you came to Israel for those 3 weeks, this Ma'or program, which I have heard of,
I wanted more. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more. I felt like some part of me was missing.
Uh-huh. So you did 3 weeks, and then you came back, and you actually joined a more intense program for that seminary Pathways, right?
Yeah. So that intense program was 2 months, and then it was done, and then I started working.
And then?
And then one day I decided, I guess 2 months after work, after I began working and living on my own, that I didn't want to work anymore. And I quit everything and went to seminary for 8 months.
Uh-huh. How do you find these different kinds of programs and seminaries? How did that happen when you were not living here? Living here, I guess, is pretty easy, but when you were in the States, how did you find that program?
I felt like it was. I think that for people that come from America or from anywhere in the world and they come, they make the program so it's like you keep wanting more. So even after you're done your few months or a year, something brings you back.
And how do you, I mean, is the information just readily available? Do all your friends also like go along these programs with you?
So most of them I did by myself. I didn't go on with friends because I didn't really want it to be like a cliquey kind of thing. I kind of wanted it to make it my own and to meet friends through the program, so I didn't go with anyone. But a lot of times it's through colleges. Okay.
I mean, growing up, I didn't know about these programs, but once you're here, there are tons of them.
Yeah.
As you know, we've had girls to our house, and they're like,
there's so many
all over the place. It's unbelievable how many girls and boys come here for these programs 1 year, 2 years, and then they leave. And
or
you
they get
didn't
married.
go. Or they get married and leave. But a lot of them leave. My point is, a lot of them leave, and it's very upsetting because they're in this structure. And even coming to Susia for Shabbat is a big deal, right?
Right. I remember my first Shabbat coming.
Yeah, and sometimes these girls they're a bit immature, and they really just don't have the mindset to live here, and they're very different than you. You're very different.
I mean, usually they're mostly like 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds. So I was already 23 when I made aliyah.
Yeah.
So I think it's also a very different mindset.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. What has it been like for you in Petach Tikvah? You were in Yerushalayim, now you're in Petach Tikvah. What's Hanukkah like there? You're with girls, you have roommates, right?
So it's fun. It's definitely much different than Jerusalem, because in Jerusalem it's kind of like, I mean, anyway, in Israel it's kind of all in your face, but I think definitely with this time with Corona, it's more you see it more in Jerusalem. But here I see the chanukiyot on the windows and sufganiyot, and every time around like 6, 7, the Chabad rabbi drives by with his music and lights the chanukiyah.
Wow, nice.
So you feel like it's Hanukkah. In America, you don't feel it at all.
Yeah, different. Of course it's different. I didn't even realize that. I said on the show that it's here very calm and it's a very nice time to be with your family, but I didn't realize it because I live here. But it's true. In the cities, like I was in Arad yesterday, and like there's Chanukiyot, huge ones on
everywhere.
Traffic circle. Every traffic circle is a huge Chanukiyah, like a building. And I guess it's all over Israel because it's this is a big deal here. Every holiday is a big deal.
Yeah, every holiday you definitely feel the air is different when it's a holiday in Israel.
Right. All the and another thing I'll tell our listeners, all the commercials on the radio, they change to like these Hanukkah songs, Hanukkah jingles, and they change the words to match the Hanukkah songs, and it's so like kitschy that way, but it's so cool because that's the song they're doing. There's no jingle bells, none of that. No. It's all
you don't
the
even
Hanukkah
know
song.
The kids don't even know what Christmas is.
They have no idea what Christmas is. The only reason my kids know what Christmas is because they've watched a movie. Oh, they tell me, "Mommy, we watched The Simpsons." That's what they know.
Right.
They always see it on TV. They don't know what it is. They have no idea. It's funny. It's nice. It's nice. I remember the first time I was in Israel living here working. And I remember writing the date, and I was working for a firm way back. I remember writing December 25th and thinking, whoa, I have never written December 25th on a letter because you're never working on December 25th.
Right.
You're never in school on December 25th. So it was wild. That was wild to me.
It's a good feeling.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about living here that we realize only when we have come here. Not the people who live here. People who live here don't realize it. They don't get it.
Because it's not. It's like how it is in America. Like you don't like Christmas. You don't think of anything because it's just happening. It's what's like the the norm in America.
Norm.
But here, that's what it
Right.
is here.
It's the culture. Right.
Right.
And here, when Sukvanyot started appearing, people were like, finally,
Yeah.
We're all thrilled, but this is how they're growing up.
Yeah.
It's funny. Somebody just wrote to me on the chat, what the hell is December 25th? LOL. Funny. So good. So tonight's the last night. I guess you're lighting with your roommates, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's another thing that happens here. Everything's about the lighting. I just had a phone call. I was talking to the Israel Baseball Association about the baseball stadium we're building, and the guy was like, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you now. I'm with my family. We're going to be lighting soon. And I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you later. Like, everything's about lighting. Everything's about lighting.
Yeah, they make their lives around what's like the chag and what they have to do. And
Great. I love it. It's one of the greatest parts of being here. Thank you, Arielle. We're going to go. We're out of time. Go light. Chanukah Sameach. And thanks for being on the show.
Sameach.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
If you're hearing this message, everyone else can too. Advertise with Israel News Talk Radio and get your message out to people. We'll build a personalized package for you. Contact advertising at israelnewstalkradio.com.
Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Jake in Anchorage, Alaska, and I love listening to all the super interesting interviews and up-to-date information on what's happening in Israel.
Hello, this is Anna King, originally from London, now living in Israel. And what can I say? Israel News Talk Radio is my cup of tea.
My name is Jasper. I'm from India, and I love listening because you get to know the truth and wonderful voices from this lovely country.
Mom!
Okay, wait a minute.
Hi, this is Chava Dax, and I'm calling for the rolling hills of Ma'ale Adumim, just north of Jerusalem. I always listen to Israel News Talk Radio to get all the latest news and commentary and to keep me up to date every day.
This is Sarah Dax from Ma'ale Adumim, and I'm 12. I wish Israel News Talk Radio was boring so my mom wouldn't listen to it all the time. Mom!
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.